In the heart of medieval France, a secretive and rebellious sect stood defiant against the might of the Catholic Church. Followers of an ancient and forbidden belief, the Cathars were crushed by a relentless crusade, but their story, full of hope, betrayal, and bloodshed, continues to echo through history. This is the tale of the Cathars, the heretics who challenged the very foundation of medieval Christendom. The Cathar movement didn't appear overnight. It was the culmination of centuries of religious ferment. As early as the 2nd century, dualistic beliefs, ideas that the world was divided between a good spiritual God and an evil material God, took root in various sects. These ideas, known as Gnosticism and Manichaeism, proposed that the material world was created by a lesser, evil God, and that only by rejecting it could one attain spiritual purity. By the 12th century, these ancient heresies re-emerged in the south of France, where they found fertile ground. The region, known for its independent spirit and disdain for centralized authority, became the birthplace of the Cathars. The word Cathar itself comes from the Greek word katharos, meaning pure, reflecting their belief that only through spiritual purity could one achieve salvation. The Cathars were not mere rebels. They were reformers. They believed the Catholic Church had become corrupt, a tool of earthly power rather than a guide to spiritual truth. They rejected the sacraments, including the Eucharist, seeing them as rituals designed to control, not liberate. They also dismissed the clergy, who, in their eyes, were no more than sinful intermediaries between man and God. For the Cathars, salvation could only come through the perfects, those who had undergone rigorous spiritual discipline to reach the highest state of purity. As the Cathars spread throughout southern France, they began to gather large followings, especially in the Languedoc region. This was a place where the Catholic Church's power was weak and where local lords ruled with a level of autonomy uncommon in the rest of France. The Cathars found support from these lords, many of whom saw the Church as a threat to their own authority. The towns of Toulouse, Albi, and Carcassonne became hotbeds of Catharism, with thousands flocking to hear the message of purity and freedom from the Catholic hierarchy. The Cathars created their own communities, known as perfects, or good men and women, who lived ascetic lives, often in isolated villages. They took vows of chastity, renounced wealth, and lived without luxuries. Ordinary people, peasants, artisans, and nobles alike, flocked to hear their teachings, drawn by the Cathars' message of spiritual equality and direct communion with God. As the Cathar movement grew in strength, it quickly drew the ire of the Catholic Church. The Cathars' rejection of the papacy and its sacraments was seen as a direct challenge to the authority of the Pope and the Church. In 1208, Pope Innocent III, one of the most powerful and influential popes in history, issued a papal bull condemning the Cathars as heretics. In response, Innocent III launched a holy war, known as the Albigensian Crusade, in 1209. The Pope's decree called for the destruction of the Cathar heresy, and he promised the Crusaders the same rewards as if they had fought in the Holy Land. A brutal military campaign ensued, with ruthless massacres and widespread slaughter. The Cathars, however, did not go down without a fight. The towns of the Languedoc region became fortified strongholds, with the Cathars defending their beliefs to the last. The most infamous siege was the Crusades' assault on the city of Béziers in 1209. When the Crusaders breached the walls, they reportedly slaughtered every man, woman, and child they found, not distinguishing between Catholics and Cathars. "Kill them all," the papal legate reportedly said. "God will know his own." Thousands perished in the bloodshed. Despite the Crusaders' overwhelming military power, the Cathars held on, fighting with fierce determination to protect their beliefs. They found refuge in the mountain fortresses that dotted the rugged Pyrenees. Castles like Montsegur, Peripertus, and Queribus became symbols of Cathar resistance, with the defenders living in isolation, enduring siege after siege. The Cathar strongholds were marvels of medieval military architecture. Built high in the Pyrenees, these castles were virtually impregnable, perched on sheer cliffs with only one narrow, treacherous access route. Montsegur, in particular, became the heart of the Cathar resistance. Here, the last Cathar leaders took their final stand. In 1243, a massive Crusader army laid siege to Montsegur, surrounding the fortress with a ring of soldiers. The Cathars inside, numbering about 200 men and women, endured months of siege, living off limited supplies. But despite their efforts, the siege wore them down. In 1244, the defenders of Montsegur were forced to surrender. In a final tragic act of defiance, 225 Cathars were burned alive at the stake, their deaths marking the end of the Cathar resistance. The fall of Montsegur was not just the loss of a fortress, but the loss of a way of life. It symbolized the brutal destruction of a religious movement that had dared to challenge the authority of the Catholic Church. With Montsegur's fall, the Cathars were all but exterminated. Over the next few decades, the Inquisition, a church-sponsored tribunal designed to root out heresy, hunted down the remnants of the Cathar faith. Inquisitors used a combination of torture and threats to force confessions from suspected Cathars, and many were burned at the stake or imprisoned for life. The Cathar movement, once a vibrant and widespread challenge to the Catholic Church, was extinguished. But even as the last Cathars were burned, their beliefs did not vanish entirely. Many Cathar sympathizers, especially in the Languedoc, kept their faith in secret. The memory of the Cathars and their ideal of spiritual purity lived on, passed down in whispers and hidden texts. The Cathars may have been defeated in battle, but their spirit lives on in the hearts of those who question authority, seek truth, and yearn for a deeper connection to the divine. Their story is not just one of persecution and death, but also a testament to the enduring power of faith, hope, and the courage to challenge the status quo. The Cathars, in their quiet defiance, remind us that the fight for spiritual freedom is never truly over. And so, their legacy endures, not as a footnote in history, but as a beacon of resistance against the forces that seek to control the human spirit. The Cathars may have been erased from the pages of history, but their legacy lives on in the silent stones of their castles, in the windswept hills of southern France, and in the hearts of those who still seek freedom of spirit. Their story reminds us of the enduring power of belief, of the courage to defy authority, and the strength to pursue truth, no matter the cost. History, like the Cathars, can never truly be silenced. It whispers to those who are willing to listen. Thank you for walking footsteps of history with us today. If you found this journey into the past fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the shadows of history. And remember, every step you take is a step through time, waiting to be discovered.